So this is just an interview for the newspaper. I just have a couple of questions.
Mr. Gray will see you now.
What was he like?
Today, in this edition of Jesse Kern's Infomercials, we'll be discussing one of my favorite novels, 50 Shades of Grey. Now, in this novel, we find the basic elements of what could be working into one of the greatest next classic literary novels. So maybe one day in high school, in my generation of high school students, we'll be reading 50 Shades of Grey instead of Crime and Punishment. So let's get into the character development and some of the basic plot aspects. So our two main characters are Anne and Mr. Grey, Christian Grey. Now, Mr. Grey is the head of a large newspaper, and Anne, in the opening for a few scenes, is going in to get an interview with Mr. Grey to get a job there. Now we can see the interview, though it ends badly, but what we find out is there's a small connection bred in between the two. Now how this connection develops more is Mr. Grey sends Anne a $1,000 book to her as a gift, even though she wasn't accepted for the job. Anne thinks this is very strange, but Anne's poor lack of judgment, because the time she confronts Mr. Grey about this is when he calls Mr. Grey after she has been gotten wasted at a bar. It gives Mr. Grey the opportunity to take her back to his place and get her cleaned back up. Nothing bad or foul play happens here. That is, for now. Now what we can see from this is some of the other aspects of the book that some of the more mature readers might want to read into later, or when you get your edited version of the copy, the parts of the book that might just be edited out. Now that we have seen one of the toys that's used in the novel, let's look to see how the plot develops on out. What we find is that Mr. Grey and Anne go on out throughout the novel, and their relationship begins to grow even more. Now Mr. Grey is used to having a partner that doesn't last very long, but Anne is able to open up Mr. Grey to a whole different world of love. Because Mr. Grey goes from his one type of love and for searching for the one thing only. But Anne is able to make this gap open up and make it so Mr. Grey is able to go ahead and find out what true love really is. And they explore love through a multitude of options, which might not be appropriate for younger readers. So now that as we've gone through a small tidbit of the book, I really advise anyone above the age of 12 to pick this book up and read it. Now, some parts of this book you might not want to discuss with your grandparents, just because a few things might get a little bit bad. And as always, for all you young readers out there, ask your parents' permission before ever picking up a novel such as this. So now I'd like to say thank you to all of my proud viewers of Jesse Kern's Infomercials, and from Jesse Kern Productions of Infomercials. Thank you all, and good night.